Group B was introduced in 1982 for competition vehicles and sports car racing and rallying. It was regulated by the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile, or the FIA. The Group B regulations fostered some of the fastest, most powerful and sophisticated rally cars ever built, and is commonly referred to as the golden era of rallying. The short-lived Group B has acquired legendary status among rally fans and automobile enthusiasts in general. So how did it come about? And why did it stop? The two main classes of rallying were called Group 2 and Group 4. Major manufacturers competed in Group 4, which required a minimum of 400 examples of a competition car to be built. Notable cars of this era included the Lancia Stratos HF, the Ford Escort RS 1800, and the Fiat 131 Abarth. Audi had already stirred things up in 1979 by having the ban on four-wheel drive cars removed, paving the way for their dominance in the rally scene with the Audi Quattro. Other manufacturers initially dismissed four-wheel drive because of the added weight and complexity of the drivetrain. This led to fears that it would cancel out any performance benefits, but the Audi Quattro proved them all wrong, consistently winning stages throughout its time, except for the rear-wheel drive Lancia in 1982, but that's another story. The FSIA decided to separate the rally cars into three classes. Group N was production cars, Group A was modified production cars, and Group B was modified sports cars. Group B was aimed at promising outright competition victories and the subsequent publicity opportunities without the need for existing production models. There was also a Group C which had similarly lax approach to chassis and engine development, but with very strict rules over weight and maximum fuel load. However, it was Group B that became the thing to watch, with all the thrills and spills of cutthroat competition at the bleeding edge of motoring technology. Group B cars could be two-seaters and the minimum production was 200 cars. Manufacturers were allowed to have an evolution of each car by producing 20 cars of that particular evolution. Because the requirement was only 200 cars to be produced, cars like the Ferrari 308 and the Porsche 911 could actually be entered in for Group B rallying. Big manufacturers, though, used these rules in an entirely different way, designing rally cars of which 20 could be produced and designated the Evolution model, and then build a limited series of 200 street cars so they would actually qualify for Group B standards. Within each group, there were subclasses based on engine displacement. Each class had different weight limits, maximum tyre sizes and engine sizes, among other things. The most important classes for Group B were the 3000cc class, which had engines around 2142cc with turbo or supercharger, a 960kg maximum weight. This included the Audi Quattro and Lancia 037, and the 2500cc class with an 890kg limit, which had the Peugeot 205 T16 and the Lancia Delta S4. While these rules came out for the 1982 rally season, it was from 1983 that things started to get bigger. Although the Audi Quattro was still in essence a Group 4 car, it carried Hannu Mikkola to the driver's title in 1983. Lancia designed a new car for Group B specifications, but the Lancia 037 still had rear-wheel drive and was thus less consistent than the Audi over different surfaces. Generally though, the Lancia had the upper hand on tarmac, with the Audi remaining superior on looser surfaces such as snow and gravel. Nevertheless, the 037 performed well enough for Lancia to capture the manufacturer's title with a rally to spare. In fact, so low was Lancia's regard for the Drivers' Championship, they did not enter a single car into the season finale, despite the fact that one of their drivers was still in the hunt for the title. The low manufacturing requirements quickly attracted manufacturers to Group B. Opel replaced their production-derived Ascona with the Group B Manta 400, and Toyota built a new car based on their sleeker. Like the Lancia 037, both cars were rear-wheel drive, but quite successful in national rallying in various countries. Less so, though, at the World Championship level, although Toyota did win the 1983 Ivory Coast Rally after hiring Swedish desert driver and specialist the late Björn Wallgard. But in 1984, it was Audi's Stig Blomqvist who beat Lancia to the driver's title, although the victory was bittersweet. Midway through the year, Peugeot had joined the rallying scene with its Group B 205's T16. The T16 also had four-wheel drive and was smaller and lighter than the Audi Quattro. At the wheel was 1981 Drivers' Championship Ari Vatanen. A crash, though, prevented the T16 from winning the first rally, but the writing was definitely on the wall for Audi. Despite massive revisions to the Quattro, including a shorter wheelbase, Peugeot dominated the 1985 season, although not without mishap. Vatanen plunged off the road in Argentina and was gravely injured when his seat mountings broke. Although Vatanen had a constant record of crashing out when he was in the lead in a rally, the crash itself in 1985 was a sign that Group B cars had become dangerously quick. Several new Group B cars entered the rallying world in 1985. Lancia replaced their outclassed 037 with the Delta S4, which featured both a turbocharger and a supercharger. Ford returned after several years away with the RS200 and the Ford Sierra RS Cosworth. Citroën developed and entered the BX4TC, which ultimately was too heavy and cumbersome to be successful, and Rover entered the fray with the Metro 6R4, which featured a more boxy styling to the bodywork and also a V6 rear-mounted engine with four-wheel drive. This was to make 1986 the defining year. 1986 was set to be a very exciting season. Defending champion Timo Salonen had set the new Evolution version 2 of Peugeot's 205 T16 with ex-Toyota driver Juha Kankkunen. Audi's new Sport Quattro S1 boasted over 600 horsepower and a huge snowplow-like front end. Lancia's Delta S4 would be in the hands of Finnish prodigy Henri Toivonen, and Ford was ready with its high-end RS200 with Stig Blomqvist at the wheel. But at the Laguna Azul stage of the Portuguese rally near Sintra, everything went tragically wrong. Portuguese national champion Joaquim Santos crested a rise, turning to his right to avoid a small group of spectators. This caused him to lose control of his RS200. The car veered right and slid off the road into more spectators. 31 people were injured and 3 were killed. All the top teams immediately pulled out of the rally and Group B was placed in jeopardy. Disaster struck again in early May at the Tour de Corse. Lancia's Toivonen was a championship favourite, and once the rally got underway, he was the pace setter. 7 kilometres into the 18th stage, Toivonen's S4 flew off the unguarded edge of a tightening left-hand bend and plunged down a steep wooded hillside. The car landed on its roof. The fuel tank was ruptured by the impact. The combination of red-hot turbocharger, Kevlar bodywork and ruptured fuel tank ignited the car and set fire to the dry undergrowth. Only a cloud of smoke and the lack of a car at the finish line indicated something was very, very wrong. By the time the rescue workers made it to the remote spot, some 30 minutes later, all that remained of the car was a blackened frame. Toivonen and co-driver died in their seats. With no witnesses to the accident, it was impossible to determine what the cause of the crash was, other than Toivonen had left the road at high speed.
Sabi now led, but there was little enthusiasm for rallying, and the Peugeot cruised through the remaining stages. Sabi and co-driver Jean-François Fauchil drove the Peugeot onto the podium, but they stayed inside the car and there would be no celebrations after one of the darkest events in the history of the World Rally Championship.
This crash also came a year after Lancia driver Attilo Begata had crashed and died in his 037. While that fatality was largely blamed on the unforgiving Corsican scenery, his co-driver was uninjured. Toivonen and Cresto's death, combined with the Portugal tragedy and the televised incident of F1 driver Mark Sura in another RS200, careering off the road and killing his co-driver, compelled the FIA to act. Group B cars were immediately banned from 1987. Audi decided to quit Group B entirely after Corsica. The final days of Group B would be controversial. Peugeots were disqualified from San Remo Rally by the Italian scrutineers as the skirts around the bottom of the car were deemed to be illegal. Peugeot immediately accused the Italians of favouring the Lancias. Their case was strengthened next event at the RAC Rally, and the British scrutineers passed the Peugeots as legal in identical trim. France-based FISA annulled the result of the San Remo Rally 11 days after the final round in America. As a result, the championship title was passed from Lancia's Mako Allen to Peugeot's Juho Kankkunen. Although 1987 saw the end of Group B cars on the world stage, they didn't disappear from motorsport. Peugeot adapted their T16 to run in the Dakar Rally, and Ari Vatanen won the event in 1987, 1989 and 1990. Improved Peugeot and Audi cars were also competed in the Pikes Peak hill climb in Colorado. Walter Roll's S1 rally car won the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb in 1987 and set a new record at the time. Audi used their Group B experience to develop a production-based racing car for the Trans Am and IMSA GTO series in 1988 and 1989 respectively. Ford sold off their RS200s to private buyers, many being used in European rallycross events from the beginning of 1987 until the end of 1992. The Metro 6R4 became a frequent sight in rallycross, and the car also entered the British and Irish National Championship events. Porsche's 959 never entered a World Rally event, although it did compete in the Middle East Championship and won the Paris-Dakar Rally. The 961 prototype won the GTX class at the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 1986, and the Ferrari 288 GTO was built and sold to the minimum requirements of cars for the public. However, it never saw action in its category. With that, the last of the Group B cars left the international stage, retiring to private ownership in many cases. The Ford RS200, the MG Metro 6R4, Lancia Stratos and Audi Quattro all became legends and are sought after cars today. Even with the disasters that plagued Group B in its last few years, no other racing group created such excitement, such unpredictable results, and rapid motoring development. It really was the golden age of racing.